What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today we've got our Week 11 fantasy football running back starts and sits for every single matchup, so make sure to tune in. If you enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. Let us hear in the comment section. Do you agree, disagree, along with any other questions you guys might have? We'll do our best to answer them all. But with that being said, let's get right into it. Before getting into our breakdown, I want to highlight the sponsor of today's video, OddsJam. OddsJam continues to be the place that I use for all of my sports betting research, from the NFL, NBA, MLB, to daily fantasy and everything in between. But don't just take my word for it. Let me show you firsthand all the amazing tools OddsJam has to offer. Starting with their positive EV tool, which identifies situations where a single sportsbook has mispriced their line compared to the rest of the market. They're basically willing to pay a lot more so that you bet with them compared to the other sportsbook. At the end of the day, you're getting the best odds, essentially a mathematical edge and guaranteed money in the long run. But also available is OddsJam's arbitrage tool, which shows situations where the market is so mispriced that you can bet on both sides and guarantee a risk-free return. OddsJam's calculators show you exactly how much you have to bet on the over and under and what the respective guaranteed risk-free return would be. There's also OddsJam's Sportsbook tool, which consolidates all available market info, over 200 sportsbooks, and provides updates in real time and allows you to see line movement. But my personal favorite is their Fantasy Optimizer tool, which is great for those using PrizePicks, Underdogs, or other daily fantasy sites, as you get to see discrepancies between all of these sportsbooks. Imagine, PrizePicks has a Patrick Mahomes line at 200.5 passing yards, and all other books like FanDuel and Underdog have this line at 230 passing yards. Well, getting the over 200.5 on PrizePicks would be an absolute steal. Guess what? OddsJam does that for you. And the good news is, if you sign up today and use our code PIGSKIN, check the link and promo code in the description of this video, you will get 25% off your first month. OddsJam also has a 7-day free trial, so you get to try before you buy. So don't waste any more time and sign up for OddsJam using our code PIGSKIN today. Now, we kick off Week 11 on Thursday with the Bengals at the Ravens, divisional clash here. And I'll be honest with you, I don't love the running back matchups. Now, I'll start with Joe Mixon, who I do have listed as a start. But make no mistake about it, he is a boom or bust, low to mid-level running back 2 on the week. You know, the Ravens, one of the best defenses in the NFL, and I really think Joe Mixon is going to be touchdown dependent. That's what scares me here. I don't think the volume alone is going to be enough. I do have him, however, as a start just because, you know, we're dealing with bye weeks. There's some matchups that aren't ideal, so Mixon is still in the start column. However, for the Ravens, you might be surprised to see that I have everyone listed as a sit. Gus Edwards, Keaton Mitchell. Now, yes, Mitchell has kind of been the hot name as of late this week. He's kind of done the Devon Achane 2.0 type of situation where he's done a lot with a little, you know, ripping off big touchdowns on limited carries. But I think even though the Ravens have said they need to get him more involved, it's just going to end up neutering both Gus Edwards and Keaton Mitchell. He's not going to rip off a 40-yard touchdown on every run or every other run. And I think that this game versus the Bengals, it's going to have to be one where the Ravens air it out more so. That's what worries me here. I think effectively both Edwards and Keaton Mitchell are going to be guys that see around 8, 9, 10 carries a game. Lamar Jackson is still there. Maybe Mitchell towards, you know, closer to the end of the season. But right now, until he puts up like another 1 or 2 great games, I just don't see them fading Gus Edwards. Now, moving on, Steelers at the Browns. A lot to talk about here. For the Steelers, Jaylen Warren named the starting running back. Now, sure, that's the case, but I don't think that means Najee Harris is going to all of a sudden go away. What's going to essentially happen is Jaylen Warren is going to take the Najee role, and Najee is going to take the Jaylen role. And, you know, obviously that goes kind of without saying, but what does that really mean? Well, that's not that huge of a difference because both these guys beforehand were getting like 13, 14, 15 carries apiece, something like that. Not a huge differentiation, and they were both touchdown dependent. So, yes, now we have Jaylen Warren as the starter, but you shouldn't be shocked to see Najee Harris potentially outproduce him, or both of them struggle. And again, especially here versus a tough Browns defense, that's what worries me. That's why I'm not willing to commit to more than one Steelers running back. I still have Jaylen Warren as, again, probably in that boomer bust low-end running back 2 category. For Cleveland, I only have Jerome Ford, but his upside would be higher. However, Deshaun Watson ruled out for the remainder of the season with an injury, so that offense to me takes a step back. And Kareem Hunt, as a result, I now have as a sit. I just don't think the Browns offense in this iteration is going to be able to sustain multiple fantasy relevant running backs. So Jerome Ford, I actually probably prefer him the most in this matchup out of all the running backs involved. But, I don't think anyone in this game has a RB1 type of week in them in Week 11. Then Raiders at the Dolphins. I like this matchup for fantasy purposes. Raiders, Josh Jacobs, he's been a focal point of this offense ever since McDaniels was fired. So he's a high-end running back 2, low-end running back 1, depending on the game script. For the Dolphins, Raheem Mostert, you continue to start him, and De'Von Achane is scheduled to be available coming off IR this week. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to play, but, it could be a similar situation to Khalil Herbert. Technically, he was eligible to play last week, however, didn't. We're just going to have to monitor it heading into Sunday. However, if he does play, this Raiders defense doesn't scare me, and I would take a chance on him. He's been very explosive before. They were feeding him the football, so I think that he could be decent. I still have Mostert ranked higher. He's been healthier for longer, while Achane, coming off an injury, I would have as a mid-level running back too. Then Bears at the Lions. I'm only looking at the Lions starters here. David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs. I think both of them are in for a great matchup. I could see both of them putting up RB1 numbers, going back and forth, Montgomery revenge game. We'll see how that plays out. But again, both these guys in a very good situation here for the Lions. For the Bears, on the flip side, I don't like it. Khalil Herbert, who I mentioned previously, he was technically activated off IR last week, but didn't play. D'Onta Foreman, I said if that was the case, was a really good start. That ended up being true. Now, however, if Herbert plays, Foreman, just like I said last week, it's going to be a running back by committee situation. He's proven enough that he deserves work. So Khalil Herbert, when he's activated, he's not just going to be a bystander. And versus this Lions team, I think we could see a situation where the Bears have to abandon the run. So again, for that reason, I would sit the rushers. If Herbert can't go again, I would take a chance on D'Onta Foreman. But again, not in as great of a situation as he was last week versus the Panthers. So to me, he would be more so a low-end, standard play running back 2 type of category. Then Titans at the Jaguars. I'll start Derrick Henry. Yes, very disappointing last week, but this is a better matchup for against the Jaguars. He knows this opponent well. He's had success versus them. I think that he can be a solid mid to high end running back 2 in standard scoring for the Jaguars. Travis Etienne, he's been great all season long. You continue to fire him up. Low end running back 1, high upside as well. Then Chargers at the Packers. I'll start Austin Eckler. I mean, Eckler, since he's come back from his injury, he's been a stud, top 3 running back. That should absolutely continue versus the Packers. Nothing else to say. For Green Bay, I'll only look at Aaron Jones. I think he's the better overall running back. He's the better pass catcher. But again, this will come down to game script, and if the Packers rushers are phased out of the game, I think Aaron Jones is going to be a volatile running back depending on matchups. That's what worries me. I've said that about him before. So to me, he's a boomer bust, low end running back 2, and then A.J. Dillon is a sit. I could see the Packers being blown out, and that's not a favorable situation for Dillon. Then Cardinals at the Texans. You start James Conner here. I think it's a decent matchup. I think another week having gone from him being off of IR is a good thing. Some more, chemistry with Kyler Murray. All these things are good things. For the Texans, Singletary had a huge performance last week. I think he could potentially follow it up here. However, we have to see if Dameon Pierce plays or not. He missed last week. Could potentially happen again. If he does play, I would still lean Devin Singletary. He's been good for the Texans as of late, and I think Pierce Probably they won't let him loose 100% in his first game back. So either way, basically what I'm saying is I have Dameon Pierce as a sit. But if he does play, he's really going to hurt the value of Singletary in certain situations. So Singletary, I think, again, even though it's a good matchup, is going to be somebody that if you're looking for him to duplicate what he did last week, you will be disappointed. Then Cowboys at the Panthers. Folks, I'm telling you, if this isn't the game where Tony Pollard gets right and puts up an RB1 performance, we might never see it again this season. And, I think the Cowboys are going to absolutely humiliate, demolish, destroy, blow out the Panthers. I think this Cowboys defense is going to smother Carolina, and I think Tony Pollard should have success here. This is the type of game where he can have success. I'm going out, kind of maybe a little bit risky here, but I think he can be a top 10 running back on the week. For Carolina, you sit everyone. This is going to be ugly. Carolina's been awful all year long. It's not going to change versus this Cowboys defense all of a sudden. Hubbard and Miles Sanders, everyone is a sit for the running backs. Giants, Commanders, I'll start Saquon Barkley. He's the focal point of this offense. He has been even without Daniel Jones, but, with DeVito as the quarterback, Barkley is, again, hurt because most those situations, the Giants are out of those games, game script-wise, and Barkley just not as effective. However, you're still going to start him. I think the matchup could be worse. I have him as a high-end running back, too. For Washington, I'll go Brian Robinson. I actually like him more than I like Saquon Barkley, as crazy as that sounds. High-end running back, too, as well, but a higher floor. And then I'll sit Antonio Gibson. I wouldn't go chasing the touchdown success from last week. Afterwards, Bucks at the 49ers. I'll start Rachaad White and Christian McCaffrey. Rachaad White is going to struggle here more so than he has the last couple of weeks, but we've said it. He's another one of these guys that is a little bit more matchup based. However, if the usage as a pass catcher continues, he will be okay. Mid-level running back 2, McCaffrey top 3 running back like he has been every single week. Then Jets at the Bills. I'm sitting everyone here. Honestly, I am. Might be a little bit of a shock, but we've been saying this for a while. Breece Hall, the last couple of weeks, you were maybe a little bit fooled because he had a couple really long touchdown catches, but then the stats otherwise didn't look all that great. And you take away those long fluke touchdown catches, Breece Hall is a sit. And I think that's going to be the case here versus the Bills. Until Aaron Rodgers, somehow, if he miraculously comes back this season, Breece Hall, he's boomer bust, and more often than not, he is bust. For the Bills, tough Jets defense. Latavius Murray has been getting more work. James Cook and Latavius Murray, because of that reason, I think are better off as sits. Then Seahawks at the Rams. I'll start Kenneth Walker here. I think, he got back on track last week. He can continue it here versus the Rams, high-end running back 2. For the Rams, the big news is Matthew Stafford expected to play, so I think that does increase the stock for this backfield. But let's not kid around. Kyren Williams here is the guy that we're all waiting for to return. But in the meantime, I think Darrell Henderson is still the preferred option. Royce Freeman, I know he's had a little bit more touchdown success, but I wouldn't necessarily go chasing that. I think Henderson is the preferred guy, knows the system a little bit better. Either way, though, both these guys I think are boomer bust. Low-end running back 2s, probably in the running back 3 category because they're going to vulture each other as well. Then Vikings at the Broncos. Ty Chandler, notice no Alexander Mattison. He is in the concussion protocol. Now, yes, he can clear that protocol here potentially in a couple of days, but I would think that the Vikings err on the side of caution. And Ty Chandler, to me, is going to be the guy that is given the opportunities. That was the case last week. I have him still as a low to mid-level running back 2. I don't want to put too much pressure on him. Yes, it's a favorable matchup versus the Broncos, but still, the Broncos have been better as of late as well. So keep that in mind. And then for Denver, I'll start Javonte Williams. The Vikings don't scare me. I think Javonte can put up, mid-level running back 2 numbers here. Afterwards, Eagles at the Chiefs. I'm only starting DeAndre Swift. I think it's a better matchup for him here. Potentially could be a high-scoring game, but the Eagles front worries me, which is why I have Pacheco as a sit. I think he's going to be touchdown dependent. that doesn't bode favorably versus Philadelphia. I think Swift is the better play. I think he kind of bounces back here as a high-end running back 2 on the week, especially in PPR. But with that, we wrap up our Week 11 fantasy football running back starts and sits for every single matchup. If you guys enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. Let us hear in the comment section, do you agree, disagree, along with any other questions you guys might have. We'll do our best to answer them all. But in the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.